Hey guys, it's Muesli and Jamat here, and I've just got back from seeing Logan. We went to the earliest screening we could, which was at 10:23 p.m. on the 28th of February, so we got kind of an early screening for it. Watched the movie, really enjoyed it. A few points to talk about. There's so much in there. I just highlighted a few things that I wanted to mention. I will just say now, yes, there will be spoilers in this because to talk about the parts I really enjoyed, I need to go into spoiler territory. First things first, the opening scene of the movie is fantastic for just setting up the tone of this film. It lets you know straight up this is a different kind of movie. You have Wolverine swearing his head off. You have brutal violence. You have a little bit of comedy as these guys are trying to get the chrome caps off of Wolverine's car. And as they're shooting at him, he's trying to block the shots because the car's on a lease and he's trying to take the shots himself. I just thought the whole opening scene was brilliant. You're really into it from the get-go. The film is set, I think it was in 2024. So, it's set a bit in the future. It's not quite as apocalyptic as I thought it was going to be. It's more apocalyptic for the mutants, but life itself is still very normal. We had one of the actresses, I spotted her from Orange is the New Black, Elizabeth Rodriguez, I think her name is. She was really fantastic in this film, played a very big role as the woman that was looking after X-23. One of my favourite scenes is when we first meet Xavier. Wolverine's been looking after him. It's weird because you're not sure how cruel it is or not, because Professor X is having these seizures, and when he has them, his psychic powers go out of control and he ends up hurting people. So Wolverine's just dosing him up with drugs. He's keeping him very much out the way, and Professor X just looks at him and is like, you've given up, you're a disappointment, and you're just waiting for me to die. And it's a really hard-hitting moment. Stephen Merchant was fantastic as Caliban. Caliban's this kind of quirky character who is helping Wolverine look after Charles Xavier. Stephen Merchant did such a fantastic job with him. He can track mutants, so he gets used by the villains to help them track X-23. His whole arc is fantastic. He goes from this, he used to be a villain, he is reformed, and just goes out like a hero, which is great. Wolverine's character in this, Wolverine's always been a bit of an asshole, but in this he full on just doesn't give a shit about anybody apart from Charles. He's willing to leave people behind. He carries around an adamantium bullet, and he straight up is like, well, I was planning to kill myself with it when the time came. And he's just such a different Wolverine to what we're used to. So much grittier. It turns out the adamantium is poisoning him. His healing factor's all over the place. He's very vulnerable, very old and fragile. The plot itself is basically Wolverine trying to get X-23, Laura, to safety, to this place called Eden. It shares some of the same beats and similarities with the Old Man Logan comic book, especially as it's like a road trip across. I thought that was quite cool. The X-23 character herself, she's got her proper claws, she's got her foot claws. The way she fights is absolutely brutal. She's just got these funny, weird quirks about her. She's very quiet to start off with. It's ages into the film before she starts talking and actually opening up to Logan. But she's a really fun character to watch, and the actress did a great job with her. One of the things I find weird is that in this universe now, they have the X-Men comic books, and it's like these glorified stories of the days where the X-Men were around, and this Eden place is taken directly from this comic book. So Wolverine's like, it's bullshit, but Charles points out it's real for Laura, which I think is an important thing. We also find out that because Charles is getting older and his brain's starting to go, as it does with most old people, the thing with him is being one of the world's most powerful psychics, it has bad effects, and one of them was he had a seizure and ended up injuring about 600 people and killing the X-Men in Westchester. And Charles remembers this, like the drugs he was taking kind of suppressed that as well, and when he remembers it, he's saying about how he just doesn't deserve to be happy or have nice things, and you can see the guilt kind of eats him away. We get such different tones in this movie where you can be laughing and then there'll be something very violent, something very upsetting. It kind of flip-flops a lot. We have the film itself is like almost broken up into these little chunks, like little adventures. They meet this family, they get taken in, they have a nice meal, they're laughing, and Charles kind of points out this is a family, you could still have this, Logan. It goes from being happy and then this family is just completely slaughtered by our villains. The villains are the only thing in this film that's, I would say, is they're not even a bad point, they're just the worst point if I had to pick one. You have the Reavers, who are just muscle men that don't really do a lot of damage. And then we've got Richard D. Grant's character, who I thought might be Mr. Sinister, but he's actually Dr. Rice, who is the son of one of the scientists that worked on the Weapon X program. So they don't feel that threatening, they just feel like an annoyance that they keep following our heroes. But one of the biggest badasses, we see another clone of Logan, but he is an exact clone, and I feel like there's shades of Daken in him, because he's a much younger looking Wolverine, he's got the more buzzed cut, and he's just vicious and animalistic, he's just rage, and that's all he is. And Wolverine has some incredible fights with him. He is the one that ends up killing Professor X. I expected Professor X would die in this film. The only thing is with his death is it's very lackluster. He dies, but then Logan's busy fighting, and then we see Logan bury him, and Logan just starts like getting really angry. He starts beating up his car and he passes out. He passes out because, you know, Logan is slowly dying. It's pointed out in the film he is dying. And this is where the turn comes for X-23, because she actually manages to steal a car and drive him to an emergency room. He gets a little bit fixed up, but she's like, you're dying, and she kind of warms up to him more. She starts speaking, and I love how the growth goes from there. We have a few bumps where she wants him to come along, and he doesn't really want to, and he says, everyone I care about dies, and she says, well, I don't have a problem then. Moments like that just really hit you hard in this film. And we just build up to this big final fight. He gets Laura to Eden, and it's basically all these other kids that are there with Laura who were the same, their experiments. Then Dr. Rice was trying to build his own mutants. They've all managed to escape and come together, and they want to cross the border and be safe. So the big final battle is the Reavers kind of turning up to snatch these kids and take them back. Wolverine's there, he's completely pretty much fucking dying at this point, but there's like I don't know what it is, some kind of chemical that they used on these kids to kind of increase their strength, and Wolverine just takes the whole bottle when he was told not to. He takes the whole bottle, and he just, for the last little battle, is just this raging kind of monster. Ends up taking out loads of the Reavers. Him and Laura and the other kids just fight back, and the big main bad, this Wolverine clone, Laura takes him out by shooting him in the head with the adamantium bullet that Wolverine was carrying around. The thing that really shocked me was I didn't think Wolverine was going to die. I thought it would be him and Laura living happily ever after kind of thing, but that wasn't the case, and he is dying because the chemical runs out, and they basically say, like, your body can't take any more damage because you can't heal and you will just die. And he's there and he's impaled, and so far throughout the film nothing had been too upsetting, but it's the fact that X-23 actually calls him daddy and is holding on to him, and he just smiles at her and says, so this is what it feels like. And there's just a few seconds where Wolverine's happy and has a family. So that was fucking hard to watch. We kind of get this last moment of, we see Wolverine's grave and the kids are crossing to the border, and Wolverine had kind of said, you don't have to run anymore, like, those guys are kind of taken care of. He was like, people will always still come for you, but, you know. And then on his grave he's got a cross, and there's just this last great moment where Laura takes the cross, turns it on its side and makes it into an X. As soon as she did that, you could just hear people in the cinema, this little gasp of like, that's so amazing. And then that's just the last shot of the film, is Wolverine's grave. There's no after credit scene, nothing. It's just, that's how it ends. And it really gave me chills, and I was like, what a way to end it. The only thing with me is I'm like, this is the end of the X-Men universe. This is the perfect ending to it. And what I don't like is they've already said, oh, an X-23 will be back. Oh, and we've got plans for an X-Men Phoenix film. And I just feel like this is the right place to end it, if any. Wolverine has been our main rise-along character since the first film 17 years ago. This is where it should end. Days of Future Past showed us the happy ending, all the X-Men alive. Apocalypse showed one of their most famous battles. This shows us, like, everyone died. The original team is gone now. And then Laura will carry that on, but we don't need to see that. This film was amazing. It had so many different tones. It was just a good film. If you strip the X-Men parts of it away, it's still a good film. I really enjoyed it. And realistically, there's just nothing bad to say about it. It's like I said, the weakest point may be the villains, but the story was fantastic. Anyway, guys, I'm extremely tired because it is 2 a.m. now, so I'm going to head off. Thank you for watching. Please let me know what you thought of Logan, because I'm assuming if you're watching this video, you've seen the movie. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. And if you go down into the description below, you will find links to Facebook, Twitter, playlists, you'll find competition news, all that good kind of stuff. So good night, guys, and see you later.